Welcome in, folks, live. Welcome in, Tiger fans, to a brand new live edition of. Sorry. Welcome in, folks, live to a brand new edition of the Babin on the Bayou Show. It is Monday, March 9th, 2026. Hope you and your family are doing well, coming off a great weekend. We got a lot to discuss. Remember, every day, of course, we're sponsored by our great friends over at Shield Heating and Cooling. You know that number by now. 225-46 Bayou, 225-46 Bayou, BAYU, for your free AC system cleaning check for every AC system in your home. Hope you had a great weekend, folks. Again, thank you for joining me on this Monday. It wasn't a great weekend for LSU athletics, and I can't waste any more time before we get into this conversation on LSU baseball, because I've been thinking all day about how I was going to handle this, how I was going to talk about this, because obviously the last 2 weeks for LSU baseball have not been fun. They've not been fun at all. It's been hard. It's been hard for the team. I mean, when you look at it, and again, they dropped the series. They lose 2 out of 3 to Sacramento State this weekend, which is hard to believe that happened. But, it is frustrating. Like, sincerely, it is frustrating for me. I know it's frustrating for you. I come on here after all of these shows, and I came on here after the first 3 losses to McNeese, to Northeastern, and a ULL, and said I trust in his coaching staff. I believe Jay Johnson is the best college baseball coach in America. I believe that you have plenty of talent to be very successful on this team. None of that has changed. None of that has changed at all, folks, really, when you look at it. But it's still extremely frustrating with the way this team has played in the past 2 weeks, considering the fact that they started 8-0. They started 8-0, won their first 8 games of the 2026 season. First time they've done that under Jay Johnson while he's been at LSU. And since then, folks, it is just like you start 8-0, and then your last 9 games since then, you've won 4 games and you've lost 5. Like, you're 4-5. You're under 500 in your last 9 games, and you just came off a brutal week, folks, losing 4 out of 5 this past week. You lost to Northeastern on Monday, ULL on Wednesday, and then you dropped 2 out of 3 this weekend to Sacramento State in the box, a team that was 3-9 on the season coming in to this weekend, folks. And it starts with the offense. It starts with the offense. And I want to say, as we get in here, if you got anything, if you want to discuss anything, if I'm not gonna try to say everything's burn it all down. Like, it's none of that. It's none of that at all. But it has not been fun. It's been a brutal past 2 weeks, transparently, when you look at it. And it starts with the offense. And it really does start with the offense. And it's unfortunate because you were so good offensively in the first 8 games of the season. Like, to start the season, you were awesome offensively at the plate. And then, you have the struggles in the 6 games leading up to this weekend. But then Friday night, you were awesome offensively. You were great offensively on Friday night. You put up 15 runs on 14 hits. 10 of those 14 hits were extra base hits. You had 6 home runs, 6 bombs in the game on Friday night. The Tigers, I mean, Jake Brown continues to be the best offensive player on this team, period. He had an unbelievable game Friday night. Jake Brown hit 3 home runs in one game on Friday night. He hit a homer to left in the first, a homer to center in the second, and a homer to right in the third. Like, Jake Brown continues to be awesome and the best offensive player on this team. Stephen Milam hit his first home run of the season Friday night. Cade Aaron Beatty hit his 4th home run of the season on Friday night. Derek Curiel hit his first home run of the season on Friday night. And Curiel, looks to be heating up, I would say. I like what I've seen lately at the plate from Derek Curiel when you look at it. Really, over this last 9-game stretch, the 2 players that have been consistently good offensively have been Derek Curiel and Jake Brown. Jake Brown continues to be playing well. Derek Curiel continues to be playing well also. But besides that, it has just been not good baseball, especially for this offense. It has not been good in the last 9 games, folks. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. You did so good on Friday night. And I went on a show post-game with late Friday night I went on a post-game show with my guys AP and my guy AP and David Billiard, and we talked about, has this offense turned a corner? You had 6 sluggish games in a row, and then Friday night you come out guns a-blazing and you play awesome and all of that. You actually start out fast. You actually score 4 runs in the first inning, and you score 3 runs in the second inning. You're up 7-0 after 2 innings. And LSU this season has only had like 3 to 4 games out of the 17 they've played where they've actually started well. They haven't been starting well at all this season in most of the games they've played, and they've been playing from behind in a lot of games over this past 9-game stretch. But again, you just absolutely blister the baseball Friday night, and it's like this team might have turned a corner. They might have turned a corner. Like, that's awesome. Like, with everything going on over the past 6 games, this team might have turned a corner. And then you get to Saturday. You're feeling good after what happened on Friday night. You think the team figured it out. You think the team turned a corner. And then they get to the point where, Saturday, they only have 1 hit through 7 innings in the game on Saturday. They're shut out through 7 innings in the game on Saturday. And it's just so frustrating what happened Saturday, especially after how good you started on Friday. I mean, again, only 1 hit. You're shut out to the first 7 innings. You put up 3. It was 5-0 going into the bottom of the 8th on Saturday afternoon, and you put up 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th. You got a little bit of help in that 8th inning. 2 walks. There was a wild pitch. There was an error. The only hard hit ball was Zach York's double that he hit in that inning, but you scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and then you go to the bottom of the 9th, and you're down 2. You're down 5-3 going into the bottom of the 9th, and Daniel Harden comes in and hits a solo bomb. He hits a solo blast. Congrats for that guy. I mean, congrats for Daniel Harden for being able to do that. That was awesome. So it's 5-4. Let's see. Jake Brown walks. Steven Milam walks. So you have Brown and Milam on second and first. The tying run on second. The winning run on first with 1 out. And then with 1 out in the 9th. And then Zach York strikes out. And then, Seth Dardar flies out to center to end the game. And you lose 5-4. And it just, when you look at it, Jay Johnson talked last Wednesday, right? Like, he talked last Wednesday after the post game. I believe this is when he said it about, for this offense, being able to score runs. Obviously, like, you got to be able to score more runs, but also it's just the fact that you got to be able to score more runs, and then you also want to be able to capitalize on the other team's mistakes. You want to be able to capitalize on the other team's mistakes. Like, that's what, and you did such a great job of that on Friday night. When the pitcher throws you a mistake, when the pitcher throws a bad pitch, make them pay. Make them pay. And you did such an awesome job of that on Friday night. And then you get to the game Saturday, and, you only finished with 3 hits offensively as a team in the game on Saturday. You strike out 11 times, and the number one thing for me is you strike out 5 times looking. 5 times with the bat still on your shoulder. And I felt in the game on Saturday that there were times where breaking balls were, crossing over the middle of the plate, and you just kept the bat on the shoulder. You didn't swing. And like, that was frustrating for me because, again, you got to capitalize on the other team's mistakes. Like, you got to capitalize on the other team's mistakes. You weren't doing a great job of that coming into this weekend in the past 6 games. You did awesome at that on Friday night. And then you didn't do a good job of that on Saturday. You struck out 5 times looking with the bat on your shoulder when I felt like there were pitches that you should definitely be taking hacks at that you didn't. Okay, that you absolutely didn't. And you have another bad offensive performance, and you lose 5-4 to Sacramento State on Saturday. And then on Sunday night, you're largely ineffective again. You only score 1 run. You lose 6-1 on Sunday night, and you lose the series, when you look at it. And we can go back to some numbers from this weekend. I'm looking for it real quick. Yes, Saturday, LSU was only 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Again, they struck out 11 times, 5 times looking. Get the bat off your shoulder, please. Like, the approach on Friday was great, and then the approach on Saturday and Sunday wasn't. Like, You got to be better. You got to be better. You're playing at LSU. You're playing for the purple and gold. Like, it is unbelievably frustrating for me as an LSU fan and for all of you as an LSU fan what's going on right now. And anyway, so yeah, you get to game on Sunday. You have 6 hits on Sunday. You didn't score until the 7th inning. You only scored 1 run, and that did come in the 7th inning. You were 3 for 16 with runners on base. Sunday night, you were 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. I actually thought the approach was better on Sunday than it was on Saturday. You hit some hard balls. Like, you hit some balls pretty hard on Sunday night against Sacramento State. Like, I think you actually did a good job of that at times, hitting balls hard on Sunday. And the Sacramento State defense made some really great plays. Like, they made some really awesome plays, especially in the outfield. You hit a couple balls to the warning track that they managed to catch. Like, and that's baseball. And I understand that. I understand that, Sunday you did catch some bad breaks. You still only scored 1 run against Sacramento State, which is not good. Like, that's not good at all. And that shouldn't be acceptable, right? Like, we get that. But when you look at it, I did think on Sunday, my thing on Sunday is, of course, it wasn't good, but you did hit some balls hard, and I thought Sacramento State played a great defensive game in the field. Specifically, their outfield was great on Sunday night last night, and then again on Saturday, like, striking out 5 times looking. You strike out 11 times as on the lineup, 5 times looking. I'm like, there's some pitches that you're just not swinging at that you should on Saturday. And your approach was so great on Friday. And the frustrating thing, folks, is this is not me saying, like, I'm frustrated, and I don't mean to be negative. I don't know how to be positive after this weekend. I really don't. Like, we have to be honest about what's going on, right? But the frustrating part is you have the talent. Like, you absolutely have the talent when you look at it. Like, the first 8 games of the season, you were excellent offensively. You were mashing the baseball. Remember what you did the second weekend in Jacksonville? Like, you were awesome. You were absolutely dynamite at the plate. You were dynamite at the plate Friday night against Sacramento State. And then you come out and you only have 3 hits in the game on Saturday. You only have 6 hits in the game last night. You only put up, like, 1 run last night? It's just, yeah, man. I mean, when you look at the numbers, the only 2 guys on this team who have been consistently performing well, I would say, is Jake Brown and Derek Creel. Like, they've been your top guys. All the other guys on the lineup, I mean, it is a lineup-wide slump right now behind Creel and Brown when you look at it, folks. And it is it's not good. I mean, when you talk about in the past week and LSU's losses, some numbers here where I'll throw out to you. In LSU's 4 losses, I believe, in their past week, they hit 193 as a team, 178 with runners on base, 150 with runners in scoring position. Again, Curio and Brown are the only guys that are hitting well, that are hitting consistently. Both of those guys have gotten both Brown and Curio have 11 hits over the last 8 games, and they're batting together a combined 373 with 8 extra base hits. The rest of the lineup behind Derek Curio and Jake Brown is batting a combined 40 for 226 for a 176 batting average in the last 8 games. Like, when you look at it, that's what's going on, and it is very, very frustrating at the lineup right now. And it's not just one player. I'm not going to point one player out. Again, it's the whole lineup besides Curio and Brown. I mean, you can look at it. Aaron Beatty is 3 for 23. York is 5 for 27. Milam is 4 for 27. Trent Caraway is 4 for 22. Dardar is 3 for 23. Simpson is 3 for 13. Like, as a team offensively, it's been brutal the last 2 weeks, man. Like, I was talking to somebody about it the other day. You played great the first 8 games of the season, and you started 8-0. But you played 9 games, starting from that Tuesday game, your first loss of the season a few weeks ago. You played McNeese. You played 9 games. In those 9 games, you've had, 2 good offensive performances? And maybe that's generous. Maybe some people would say just 1 good offensive performance, and that was Friday against Sacramento State. But I'll give them 2. There was another one in there that I'll throw in there. as well. But really, like 7 of your last 9 games, you have not been good offensively, and it has been poor. And I don't know what it is, man. If it's the approach, I mean, I thought your approach was good on Friday. And then again, Saturday, I think, again, get the bat off your shoulder and capitalize on the mistakes that the other team is making. I thought there was one instance. I'm not going to bring this player up. I'm not going to identify who this player is that I'm talking about because I don't want to call anybody out because that's not what I'm about, because it's really been the whole entire offense. But like late in the game late in one game, a close game at some point this weekend, like, you're sitting fastball when they're obviously not going to throw you a fastball. Like, they're obviously not going to throw you a fastball. And I'm talking about one at bat in particular this weekend. Late in the game, you're sitting fastball, and because of that, you swing at 3 straight off speed pitches, you miss them, and you strike out late in the game. Like, I'm not going to highlight who I'm talking about because I love this player and I don't want to call them out. But like the approach on Saturday and Sunday compared to the approach on Friday it's just disappointing, man. Like, it's been disappointing over the past 9 games. Again, you lose 5 of your last 9, 4 of your last 5. You've lost. It's the first time you lost the non-conference series this weekend at home. First time you've done that since 2021. First time you've done that under Jay Johnson. And it's the first time you've had 5 losses in non-conference play in a season before you've hit SEC baseball play. First time you've had 5 losses before conference play since the year 2007. And like, my thing is, we can go out here and I'll go out here and I'll defend this team. I will. And I will say they do have the talent. They have the talent. Like, it's not that they're talentless and that don't have the players. They have good players. They have a good enough team to be successful this season, like to turn it around. They do. And they have a coaching staff that I trust. And I trust Jay Johnson with this team. Absolutely. He's the best college baseball coach in America. But when you look at it, like, we can come up here and I can say it's baseball and I can keep saying that I trust this team and trust this coaching staff to figure it out. And yes, but again, it's the first time since 2007 you've lost 5 games before conference play. It's the first time you've lost a non-conference home series to a non-conference team, on a weekend. First time you've lost that since 2021. So this is not LSU baseball. It's not LSU baseball. It hasn't been historically. When you look at it, like, it's not good. It's brutal. And it's especially brutal because you're going to Nashville this weekend against Vandy to start SEC play. And no, Vandy's not one of the best teams in the SEC. They're actually, according to the record, when you look at it, one of the worst teams in the SEC. But you got to go to Starkville this year. You got to go to Oxford this year. You got to go to Knoxville this year. You got to go to Athens this year. You go to Nashville this week. Like, this team, again, it is very, very frustrating what is going on right now with this LSU team and with this lineup and offense in particular. What's up, Babin? My only pushback, buddy, is you and I both know box scores and stats don't tell the whole picture. Also, how many games did LSU lose in 08 before winning, 22 or 24 in a row? No, Paul, I get it. Like, I get it. And like, we've talked about it and I've talked about it with other people. I'm not giving up on this team. Like, that's not what I'm doing right now. But we can admit that the last 2 weeks have not been up to the standard of LSU baseball. Like, we can admit that. I think, again, Friday, you were great offensively on Friday. I think Saturday, you got a little bit away from your approach, and I think your approach could have been better on Saturday, and you could have tried to capitalize on more pitches where you didn't. Again, striking out 5 times looking, that's something that kills me to watch. Like, I don't like that. And then on Sunday, I did think you caught some bad breaks because they played great defense on Sunday. Like, Sunday, I thought Sacramento State played great defense when you look at it. But again, when you look at the numbers, when you look at what this team's been doing over the past 9 games, it is it's not been great. It's not been fun for any of us. I do think this team can figure it out eventually. I do believe in this coaching staff, and I believe in the talent that this team has. But when you look at it, it is yeah, it's disappointing. Like, we can't say it's not disappointing because it is. It is disappointing. And yeah, we can get into the pitching from this weekend. I do think again you have some more positives. Again, if you disagree with me, put some thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to have a respectful discussion with all of you fine folks. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm giving you my honest opinion. And yeah, it is disappointing how you're playing as an offense. And I do think you could be better. I think you could be better in your approach. And I think you've really, again, like Sacramento State was 3-9 coming into this weekend. Like they were 3-9 coming into this weekend. They had lost 5 games in a row. Like when you look at it again, it's just hard because right now, like you're losing, but you're losing not to SEC level competition. Like at this time, like last season, you had a rough stretch where you got swept on the road at Auburn, and you had a rough, series on the road. You had a couple rough series on the road in the SEC last year against Auburn, against Texas A&M, like against those teams. But that was against SEC level competition. That was against an Auburn team that made a super regional last year. Like you're playing to the level of your competition. You're playing down to the level of your competition. Like you have more talent than they do. You have, more ability than they do. Like losing 4 of your last 5 and 5 out of your last 9, and you're not even in conference play yet. Like that is a problem. Like that is a problem. We need to find some rally animal to get behind because what I'm seeing now is garbage. Yeah, that would be funny. We need something. Look, again, the thing is it looks so good on Friday, and it looks so good in the first 8 games of the season, y'all. Like it looks so solid in the first 8 games of the season. You look like one of the best teams in the country, and it's been brutal offensively the past 2 weeks at the plate. And yeah, I just that's kind of is what it is. I want to get into some thoughts I have on the pitching, and then we can go back to the offense towards the end of the show. I did think a positive was that Casey Evans was excellent on Friday night. Casey Evans was awesome Friday night. It was his best performance of the season. He was perfect through 5 innings. He recorded 9 strikeouts. His command was elite. His command was awesome. He located the fastball, the slider, the changeup, even started throwing the curveball late in the game in the 4th inning. Like Casey Evans was dynamite, and he was dominant on Friday night. I thought it was his best start of the season. He showed the reason why he's trusted as the ace on this team right now. He was awesome. His command was great. Like that's what he struggled with at times early on in the season. He's like had innings where he's been a little bit wonky with his command, and his command was great. It was elite Friday night. He only went to 2 3-ball counts, and I believe in both of those counts that he went to 3 balls in. He struck the both of those hitters out. He touched 99 miles per hour in the 1st inning, which was kind of crazy to see. That doesn't usually happen for Kaysen. He did give up 2 singles and a 2 RBI triple in the 6th before he was taken out with 2 outs in the 6th inning for Zion Theophilus, who recorded a strikeout to end the 6th inning. Theophilus did. But again, overall, I thought Kaysen Evans was excellent. I thought he was excellent and super dominant on Friday night for the Tigers. You have that. He was great. Marcos Paz pitched in the 7th. Paz wasn't perfect in the 7th. He did walk 2. He also gave up a 2 RBI double, but then he did record 2 strikeouts in the inning and finished the game for the Tigers as the Tigers won 15-4 in a 7-inning run rule on Friday. And again, I think the highlight of that game was obviously your offense play. It was elite, but especially on the pitching staff, I thought Kaysen had an excellent game on Friday. And I think I made this point the other night on another show that I was on, the post game that I did with AP and David. Like everybody, like after the first 2 weeks of the season, after you start at 8-0, everybody was talking to me about their biggest concern being Casey Evans. I don't know if he's a Friday night guy. I don't know if he's ace. I don't know if he's ace material on this team. I think after what we've seen the past 9 games, I don't want to hear anything about the starting rotation. I don't want to hear anything about the starting pitching staff with Evans on Friday and Moore on Saturday and Schmidt on Sunday, because it is the best part of your team. It is the best part of your team. Again, you have William Schmidt on a Sunday. It is not a Johnny Holstaff approach to the Sunday starter position anymore. William Schmidt has been awesome in his last 3 starts. Jason Evans is getting better. He's coming off of a dominant, excellent, his best start of the season on Friday night. So again, this starting rotation, it's the brightest part of this team, and you're in a good spot there. You're in a great spot there with Evans, Moore, and Schmidt on the weekend. We could go and talk about the pitching on Saturday. Cooper Moore didn't have his best stuff on Saturday. Like his first 3 starts of the season before his 4th start on Saturday were probably better. He didn't have his best stuff in terms of efficiency, in terms of command, but he did it still. He still only gave up 1 run in 4 2/3 innings. Like he still only gave up 1 run in 4 2/3 innings. So he still battled despite not having his best pure stuff in the game, or near the level of stuff and efficiency and command that we saw in the first 3 starts. In the first 3 starts of the season, Moore had a 77% strike rate, which is unbelievably good. That is unbelievably good. And then he had a 55% strike rate on Saturday. He gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 2 hit by pitches, and he struck out 4 batters. He gave up, let's see, in the second was the inning that kind of gave Moore a little bit of trouble. He gave up a single and an RBI double in the second, but then with the bases loaded in the second and 2 outs, he recorded a huge strikeout to limit that to only a 1-run second inning for Sacramento State. So I think the big thing about Moore on Saturday is, again, he didn't have his best stuff. Like he was undeniably better in his first 3 starts of the season than he was on Saturday. But even not having his best stuff, he was still able to deal with runners on base and limit the big innings, which is something that Jay Johnson talked about last Wednesday after the ULL game. You look especially on the midweek, you've had problems with the pitching staff giving up the big inning. You give up a 4-run and a 6-run inning last Monday in the loss to Northeastern. You give up 2 3-run innings against ULL Wednesday night and that loss in Lafayette. And Moore, even though he didn't have his best stuff, was able to work his way out of it, was able to pitch his way out of it. And again, Cooper Moore, the first 3 weeks of the season, was probably your best pitcher. He was probably your best starter when you look at it. So I believe and have all the faith in the world in Cooper Moore. And I'm so it's an advantage, going to be an advantage for LSU to have a guy like him on a Saturday. Like that's going to be an advantage for them going into SEC play. Left-hander Ethan Plog came in the 5th with 2 outs for Cooper Moore, and I thought Ethan Plog was also excellent. Ethan Plog was great. The lefty was coming in relief for Moore on Saturday. He pitched 2 2/3 innings. He started by getting out of the 5th with a fielder's choice. There were 2 runners on base, I believe, in the 5th with 2 outs when Plog came in, and he got out of that with a fielder's choice. He set down the side in order in the 6th. He gave up a leadoff walk to start the 7th, but then a ball was hit right back to him that he fielded nicely, and they were able to turn the double play out of that. So he had 2 really clean, really nice innings in the 6th and the 7th, and then he recorded a strikeout to start the 8th inning before he came out. I thought Ethan Plog, he looked great. He looked great on Saturday, and I think when you talk about it, another storyline that Jay Johnson made kind of in his post-game press conference last weekend, and one of them was that I believe after the ULL game, he said he has 4 pitchers out of the bullpen that he thinks he can really trust right now. I would venture to say, 2 of those are Gavin Guidry and Devin Sheeran. And then I think Plog could definitely be one of those. He's probably, performance-wise, has been the best left-hander on your team this season, the best left-handed pitcher on your team in terms of performance in conference play. And I thought he was great Saturday against Sacramento State. So Devin Sheeran came in the game to replace Plog with 1 out, and no runners on base in the 8th inning. In a game that, again, was 1-0 at the time on Saturday because your offense had been struggling so much. And Devin Sheeran, coming into that game on Saturday, had been awesome. He had not given up a hit yet in over 6 innings on the season when you look at it. But Sheeran had probably his worst outing of the season. He came in and he struggled to throw strikes. He struggled with command. He walked 2 batters. He gave up a single. That was his first hit that he has given up on the season so far. So that loaded the bases. So the bases were loaded with 2 outs. Sheeran was taken out of the game. Jaden Newt came in the game. And I thought in his 3 previous performances, Jaden Newt was awesome. Like it's weird. He had a shaky first appearance in that start he made early in the season against Kent State. And his 3 appearances after that, he was great. Like I don't think he allowed a single base runner in his 3 games and his 3 appearances after that start against Kent State. Like against ULL, he pitched 1 inning in Lafayette last Wednesday. It was a perfect clean inning. It only took him 11 pitches to get through that inning, and all of those pitches were strikes. So he threw 11 of 11 strikes on Wednesday. So Jaden Newt was great coming in. He was great coming in. So that's why you go to him. But he kind of, he tried to sneak a fastball by Sacramento State's Cameron Sewell. He tried to sneak a fastball by him to get strike number 3, and Sewell took it out of the park. Grand slam. Bases loaded grand slam for Cameron Sewell off of Jaden Newt. And at that time, it made it 5-0. And really kind of drained all of the energy out of the stadium at that point. Because you were down 5-0, and you did battle back a little bit. You only lost by 1 run. But yeah, I think after that, Cooper Williams did come in the 9th and pitch a clean inning. Cooper Williams did in the 9th. And then on Sunday, I thought William Schmidt had another really good start on Sunday. Schmidt's stat line is kind of deceiving. Like when you look at a box score, when you look at a stat line, as Paul said earlier, it doesn't tell the whole story. So Schmidt's stat line, when you look at it, he gave up 4 runs on 4 hits in 5 2/3 innings with 8 strikeouts and no walks. But his play was so much better than that stat line when you look at the details. So he sat down the side in order in the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, and the 5th. He sat down the side in order. His only trouble came in the 3rd when he gave up 2 runs in the 3rd. It was kind of weird. So his first run given up came on a double in the 3rd, and really it wasn't Schmidt's fault. The ball was hit hard, but I thought Mason Braun in left field kind of misplayed it. He originally took a couple steps in, and once he did that kind of screwed him a little bit in left field. He tried to catch up to the ball, but it ended up going over his head and landing for a double. So that was an RBI double. And then Schmidt got a strikeout to end the 3rd inning, but it landed in the dirt. So Aaron Beatty went up and fired it to first base, but he misfired it to first base and actually hit the Sacramento State base runner that was running to first base in the head. So that was an error, really, when you look at it. Like the 2 runs that scored off of Schmidt in the 3rd, one was a ball that probably should have been caught, but was misplayed by the left fielder. And then your catcher makes an error on a ball he tries to throw down to first to get you out of the inning. And so really, like Schmidt, again, his stat line is deceiving because he had another good start. He was good on Sunday night for you. Then you go to the let's see. In the 6th, Schmidt retired the first 2 batters he faced quickly in the 6th inning before he gave up 2 singles. And then the other 2 runs that were given and credited to Schmidt really weren't his fault either, because after he got those 2 quick outs, he surrendered 2 singles. He was taken out of the game at that point with 2 outs in the 6th. Cooper Williams came in the game, faced 1 batter, and he hit the batter. He hit the only batter he faced. And then Gavin Guidry came in the game with 2 outs and the bases loaded, and Guidry struggled with command. He came in with 2 outs and the bases loaded in the 6th. Guidry walked in a run. He walked the first batter he faced, walked in Sacramento State's third run of the game, and then he gave up a weak ground ball single that snuck through the left side and allowed 2 more runs to score for Sacramento State. And at that point, Sacramento State went up 5-0 against LSU for the second time on the weekend. They went up 5-0 late in the game on Saturday. They went up 5-0 late in the game on Sunday. When you look at it, Guidry did get a strikeout there in the 6th. He pitched a clean 7th despite issuing a walk. He gave up another run in the 8th off of a walk, a wild pitch, a bloop single, and then Sacramento State put on the safety squeeze, put on a squeeze, and it was a perfect sacrifice bunt that was hit that allowed Sacramento State to bring in their 6th run of the game. Santiago Garcia got a strikeout to end the 8th, and then Maverick Rizzi pitched a clean 9th despite hitting a batter. I thought overall, pitching-wise, I'm not really focused on it right now, or I don't want to say I'm not focused on it. I don't blame the pitching for what happened this weekend. Again, Casey Evans was phenomenal on Friday in the win. And then, Saturday, Cooper Moore didn't have his best stuff, but he only gave up 1 run. He was still able to fight, and it was 1-0 going into the 8th inning. So you held them to 1 run for 7 innings, for the first 7 innings of that game. And then Jay Newt gave up a grand slam in the 8th. And then William Schmidt, it says he gave up 4 runs, but again, one of those was on a misplay in left field by Mason Braun. One of those was on a misfire to first base by the catcher, Cade Aaron Beatty. And then the other 2 he gave up in the 6th were because Cooper Williams came in, hit a batter, and then Gavin Guidry struggled with command when he came in the game. So I thought Schmidt had another really good performance on Sunday night. But I think, how do I want to put this? I think giving up 5 runs and 6 runs to Sacramento State, it's not great, no. But again, I'm not going to blame the pitchers for what happened this weekend. And we can kind of get back to other stuff as well that we want to touch on, and talk about the offense a little bit more before we get out of here, folks. But again, it has not been a good 9 games. Your last 9 games as an offense haven't been good. They haven't been good. You've had maybe 1 or 2 good performances at the plate in your last 9 games. And the stats say that, your eyes say that, but we'll get into some comments here. I believe we have the best weekend rotation in the SEC. Creighton will be a great test, and Vandy is in the same position as us. Is helpful. Yeah, you do have a great starting rotation. That's the best part of this team. That's the best part of this team is the starting rotation, because I am fully confident in Evans, Moore, and Schmidt on the weekends. All of those guys have been really, really good this season, and that is the best part of your team going into SEC play. Paul mentioned it. You do play Creighton tomorrow night, Tuesday night, in a midweek game. That'll be interesting. I plan to do, I don't know what time yet, but I plan to do a show tomorrow kind of talking a little bit about that. And then that Vandy team that you play in Nashville, when you look at it, they have been struggling in non-conference play as well. When you look at their record is they have one of the worst records in the SEC. So when you look at their record, they're one of the worst teams in the SEC, but you're still on the road playing them. Hi, Case and Evans fighter here. Everyone shut up. Leave Evans alone. Completely agree. Couldn't agree anymore, Paul. Case and Evans is, again, anybody complaining at the starting rotation at this point after what we've seen from the offense in the past 9 games, I don't know what you're doing. Starting rotation is the best part of this team. When you look at it, get used to Evans as a Friday guy, because guess what? He will be a Friday guy next year. Schmidt will likely be a Saturday guy next year. Get used to it. Yeah, Evans is coming back for another season next year. That's true, Paul. And Evans has gotten better. His worst start was opening day against Milwaukee. His start against Indiana was better than the one against Milwaukee. His start against Dartmouth was better than the one against Indiana. And then his best start of the season came against Sacramento State on Friday night. So he's improving. He's getting better after every single start. Case and Evans is just fine, folks. I agree. That was the best performance he needed to hold his spot as the Friday night guy. Yeah, I mean, I think he did that. Like, he did great. He did great on Friday night. And I am fully confident in this starting rotation heading into SEC play. Moore had a quality start, only gave up one run. He had issues out of the stretch, which I don't care. He hasn't pitched out of the stretch much this year. Yeah, I'm not really worried about Cooper Moore either. Cooper Moore, again, my thing is the sign of a good pitcher is even when you don't have your best stuff, because you're not going to have your best stuff in every single game you go out. But even when you don't, your ability to fight and limit the big innings, he did a really good job of that on Saturday. Again, he didn't have his best stuff, but he only gave up one run. Cooper Moore was your best starting pitcher through the first 3 weeks of the season. He was absolutely dynamite. I mean, that 77% strike rate through the first 3 starts he had on the season is unbelievably good. And he still didn't have a bad start on Saturday. He didn't have his best stuff, but he was still able to fight and get out of the tough situations, which is the sign of a good pitcher. The biggest problem is these pitchers have to be perfect because we can't. Yeah, I mean, you're putting a lot of pressure on them. The offense isn't really helping them at all. The offense isn't really helping them at all in the last 9 games when you look at it. We have been hitting right at people, or outfielders have Angels with them assisting in the box. Aside from ULL, strikeouts and chasing haven't been a crazy hindrance. Yeah, the Saturday one was the one that I just didn't understand what you were doing at the plate on Saturday. I did like Sunday. I can get Sunday. Like, it's still not good, only scoring 1 run against Sacramento State. But like going back and looking at it, like I went back and looked at some tape this morning, going back and looking at it, they hit a lot of hard balls on Sunday. They hit a lot of hard balls on Sunday night. The defense for Sacramento State was lights out on Sunday night. So that was the issue on Sunday. I would say the one I didn't like was Saturday, because I think Saturday you let some pitches go and cross the plate that you should have been swinging at. And again, I don't know. I don't know what it was about the approach on Saturday, but I just personally, I thought it was poor. I thought it was very poor. Whereas Sunday, I didn't think it was good Sunday, but I thought you hit balls hard that ended up landing right to the defense. The Friday pitching matchup is going to be amazing. Yeah, it's Case and Evans, of course. And then I think it's Connor Fennell. For Vandy. Paul, you might know. It's either Connor Fennell or Austin Nye. It's one of those two. I'm going to get into a Vandy breakdown later this week. We'll bring that info for you guys on the show later in the week. Look, it's weird. Your first 2 weeks of the season, let's see. Fennell. Yeah, Fennell. I know it was between Fennell and then Nye. I know Nye was injured at some point this season. I don't know if he's still injured. But yeah, Connor Fennell definitely going to get into Vandy. But Vandy has been scuffling too. As much as LSU has, Vandy has been losing a lot of games lately. And it's kind of weird. Like, this weekend was a bad weekend for the SEC when you look at it. Like, I think Arkansas was lost to Stetson. I think Tennessee lost a series to Wright State. Like, there was another one in there that was super crazy. Like, you had some interesting results in the SEC this weekend, but still, it is disappointing. And like, I hope I've handled this well, because I have been frustrated because I was in the box yesterday and I was kind of demoralized after what I saw, because I didn't like it. I didn't like going to the box because I don't get to do that every game or anything like that. So going to the box and seeing the offense play the way they did, that made me even more frustrated than I probably would have been had I just been sitting at home. I do believe in the team, like the talent the team has. The talent is there. We've seen it. We've seen it in the first 8 games of the season. We saw it on Friday night. It's just inconsistent. It's completely inconsistent right now, and that's your problem. Tomorrow, really quick, tomorrow, obviously the bats again, you just gotta build some momentum offensively because that has been your problem. Midweek pitching hasn't been great. I will say midweek pitching hasn't been great. Starting pitching on the weekend pitching has been okay. I've been fine with how you've been pitching on the weekend. Midweek pitching has been a struggle. So I think it's going to be interesting. I would like to see this pitching staff put a good midweek game performance together, and hopefully they can do that tomorrow night in their midweek game against Creighton before heading to Nashville this weekend. But again, I do believe in the talent that this team has. I believe in the coaching staff, like all of that. But um, it has been brutal offensively over the last 9 games, and I think at some point it is baseball. Like I understand that, but this isn't just a couple games. This isn't just a weekend. This is a solid 2-week stretch where you have not been good at the plate. It's a solid 2-week stretch where you have struggled at the plate. And it's not good because you want to be building momentum going into conference play. You want to be building momentum going into conference play. But that's kind of all I have for the weekend recap. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how this season goes because I think right now, if I had to take a guess, I would say, do I think this team is going to get to 18 wins in conference play? I don't know how. Like right now, I wouldn't be like necessarily like absolutely. There's no doubt they're going to get to 18 wins. I think they'll definitely like 15, 16. Yes, I understand that. And I think they can turn it around. I think they can. It's just like, again, you lost 5 of your last 9, and it's not the SEC level competition. It only is going to get harder from here, folks. But that's pretty much all I have for the show today. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. I hope I handled that well. I was frustrated coming off this weekend. Again, losing at home to Sacramento State in a series, non-conference series. First time you've done that since 2021. Like, it's frustrating. I do believe in this team, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. But thank you, folks, as always, for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I should be back tomorrow for a preview of Creighton, and I should be back tomorrow for that. I'll keep you updated with what's going on there. I thank you, as always, for tuning into the show. Again, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. And remember, as always, God bless, go Tigers, and have a great one.